All right, let's get right into it. We're diving deep into one of the most high-stakes debates of our time, and we're pulling directly from the 2026 Isaac Asimov Memorial Debate. The topic? You guessed it, artificial intelligence.
And this is really the question that hangs over everything, isn't it? It gets right to the heart of what's at stake here. Is AI the tool that's going to lift humanity up, or is it the one that could ultimately lead to our downfall?
And right out of the gate, you can see the two camps forming. In one corner, you've got the view from statistician Cindy Rush, who's basically saying, look, at the end of the day, all this stuff is just a really complex mathematical equation. It's just math. But then, in the other corner, Nate Soares from the Machine Intelligence Institute comes in with this chilling counterpoint. He says, we're automating the very thing that makes humans so uniquely dangerous to begin with.
Okay, so that really sets the stage for our first big tug-of-war here, weighing the incredible, world-changing benefits of AI against its often hidden and very, very real costs.
Let's start with the promise, with the good stuff. There's this incredible breakthrough called AlphaFold. It solved a problem that has stumped scientists for decades, protein folding, and it's completely revolutionizing medicine and drug discovery. And get this, it all started from research into AI that could play games like chess and Go. It's a perfect example of the amazing, unexpected, and positive ripple effects this technology can have.
But that promise comes with a pretty staggering price tag. According to research from Professor Kate Crawford, this is the amount the big tech companies are collectively spending on AI infrastructure, and not just once, but every single year.
To really wrap your head around that number, think about this. The entire Manhattan Project, the program that built the first atomic bomb, cost about $36 billion in today's money. That means the current AI build-out is like funding 20 Manhattan projects. Not total, but every single year. The scale is just mind-boggling. And this slide really gets at the idea that the cost isn't just about dollars and cents. You know, when you type a prompt into an AI, you're not seeing the whole picture. You're not seeing the lithium mines for the minerals, the unbelievable amounts of water and energy these data centers are gulping down, or the low-paid workers labeling data to train the system. And you're definitely not seeing the built-in biases the AI picks up from being trained on, well, the entire internet. And if you want to see that environmental impact in a really stark way, look at this. Kate Crawford's research suggests that at the rate it's growing, the AI industry is on track to have a carbon footprint that's bigger than the entire airline industry. Let that sink in for a second.
So we have this massive, incredibly expensive thing being built at lightning speed. Which leads to the next obvious, and maybe scary question, who is actually in control of this whole revolution? Professor LaTanya Sweeney from Harvard makes this really powerful argument. She basically says we're living in a technocracy where the people designing the tech have become our new policymakers. She points out that the industry often just acts like it's above the laws and social contracts that people fought and, in some cases, died for.
But you get some pushback on that. Former Google CEO Eric Schmidt says, hold on a minute, it's absolutely true that these companies are governed by U.S. law. He argues the real issue isn't that they're lawless, but something else entirely. And this really gets to the heart of the problem. It's a fundamental mismatch in speed. As Professor Sweeney puts it so perfectly, technology iterates in months, while our democratic process for making policy can take years. So how can our legal system ever possibly hope to keep up?
And what makes all this even trickier is this idea called emergent behavior. You know, Nate Soares explains it really well. We aren't programming AI like we used to program software with a neat set of rules. It's more like we're growing them on data. And that means they can suddenly develop skills and motivations that nobody ever coded into them.
And that leads you right to this core argument from the industry perspective, which Eric Schmidt voices here. Because you can't possibly test for every weird new thing that might pop up, he says some level of tolerance for error is required to make any progress. It's that classic Silicon Valley mantra, move fast and fix it later, only now we're applying it to our most powerful technology ever.
So all of this technical and philosophical debate eventually lands right on our doorstep with the one issue that directly affects every single one of us, the future of work.
You know, historically, automation always replaced manual labor. The weaver was replaced by the power loom, but the idea was that this supposedly freed up people for more cognitive and creative work.
But as Kate Crawford points out, this revolution is fundamentally different. AI isn't aimed at manual labor. It's aimed squarely at cognitive and creative labor. Programmers, writers, artists, lawyers. It's targeting the very jobs that the last waves of automation were supposed to create for us.
And this frames job loss not as some inevitable force of nature, but as a direct moral choice.
Professor Chris Callison-Burt lays it out perfectly. When AI doubles your productivity, do you grow your business with your existing team, or do you just cut your staff in half? That's a decision society is going to have to confront, company by company.
So where does this all lead? The panelists were asked to look ahead, to gaze into their crystal balls and share their visions of what our world could actually look like in the year 2030.
And their answers paint a fascinating picture of our possible futures. Sweeney sees a world of super productivity, but where our AI agents come with warranties and compliance statements, just like a toaster. Crawford sees a fork in the road. One path leads to more concentrated power for a few, the other to a future where we all have a say. Suarez hopes that world leaders get genuinely spooked enough to create a treaty to stop the race. And Schmidt imagines a world where every single person has their own personal AI assistant, revolutionizing education and daily life.
So how do we make sense of all of this? The debate's moderator, the one and only Neil deGrasse Tyson, he reframed the entire problem. He basically elevated it from just a technological issue to a species-level challenge. He drew this powerful parallel to the Cold War. The concept of mutual assured destruction, or MAD, is what ultimately forced the superpowers to negotiate. Why? Because the shared goal of, preserving our species overrode everything else. The argument is that the threat of superintelligence might require that exact same level of global cooperation.
And that leaves us with this final, really powerful idea from the science fiction author Ray Bradbury. He said he writes about these apocalyptic futures so that we know how to avoid them. Discussing these futures, even the really alarming ones, isn't about predicting doom. It's about understanding the paths in front of us so we can consciously, deliberately choose which one to take. Because the future, well, it isn't written yet.